All right, here we go.
We're
on our final part, Shelley.
We are.
Give us a roundup of what we've already spoken about and then what we're going to talk about today.
Well, this is the last part of our 5-part series. We've talked about all the different parts of CS, which is customer success as an art, customer success as a discipline, as a science, a culture. And today we are going to be talking about the team of customer success.
Yeah, and all the bits and pieces, the wonderful bits and pieces that play into it, right?
Yeah.
The driving force. Sorry?
It's the driving force.
Absolutely, 100%. Couldn't agree more. And we've broken it into 3 categories for today. We like to make them nice and bite-sized for people. So we're going to start off by talking about customer success as the customer success manager. A bit more about that, the role, the likes, the dislikes. Then we're going to talk about the team itself, our team at OpenBlend. We'll expand a little bit more on that. Then we're going to talk about the team from a leadership perspective, and our fearless leader is going to take the lead on that one. But we're going to start with the role of the customer success manager, and likes and dislikes. Can you take your mind back to when you were just a lowly customer success manager, Shelley? What were your likes and dislikes?
2012, 11.
Wow.
My likes and dislikes. Well, back then it was called account management.
Mm-hmm.
So I was bringing in new business as well as looking after and retaining the customers.
Yeah.
So my likes were meeting customers.
Mm-hmm.
I loved finding ways forward for them. Like the outcomes piece was a big piece for me. Found it really, really tricky managing kind of some personalities in those accounts.
Yeah.
The admin, the back end admin, was one of my biggest dislikes. Like the time it took to do all the admin behind the scenes.
Yeah.
But generally, I guess because I'm people focused and I like speaking to customers, it was a fun role for me. What about you?
I mean, obviously, I'm still doing a lot of the customer interaction on a day-to-day basis, and that's certainly the piece I love. Just really, and especially with a new perspective, taking on a new account is just the best feeling ever. It's a fresh start, and you can just really cultivate. And obviously, the pieces, it's so important to know what's come before, so you're not repeating yourself with your customers and things like that. But knowing you've got the opportunity to really make a difference moving forward, and when you believe in your product that you're working with them on, I mean, it's just so, I probably shouldn't say it's so easy because you just live and breathe it, and it hopefully just comes across. So I think that's a massive piece for me is actually taking on the new relationship as a whole with the customer. 100% the dislike is the admin. If we could eliminate the admin, which is what we do with a lot of the pieces we've already spoken about in this series, right? Mm-hmm. With the automations that we set up, but there is always going to be unavoidable admin, really, isn't there?
Yeah. How many industries have you worked in across your career? I guess the thing about a CSM role is, you mentioned, the role at OpenBlend is relatively easy because we have happy customers who are really seeing the benefits and love working with us. They have a very open and positive outlook, and we've got a scenario where we're bringing about like really, really good individual kind of end user experiences, which are really powerful. But if you look at another industry or you look at another product which is buggy, or we don't have many bugs, so we don't have escalations the whole time. But imagine working in a field where you've got a bad product, a product you don't believe in, or it's very dry, or you're working with very difficult personas.
Yes, yeah. Well, I mean, also I should definitely caveat, I'm not saying our jobs are easy. I'm just saying when you have a
I know what you mean
for your product, it oozes out of you in every conversation you have, I think.
Yeah.
But yes, I would say, so I've probably worked across, my main industries have been media, fashion, and then yes, SaaS, tech, B2B. So it's been a fair variety. I think one of those industries, definitely the hardest, was fashion for me, actually. And the different personas within it, quite hard to break into, and that I found that quite challenging. Dealing with, and also I always found there were multiple different stakeholders, and I've definitely I learned so much in my time working in that industry. I can't remember what your question was though, because
How
I
many
felt like I
industries
needed.
had you worked over, which you've demonstrated quite a few, but unless some CSMs really verticalize, so they really go heavy down a certain route, and that's great because then they become a really good consultant. They know their industry, they know people in the industry, they know the product, so that suits with them really well. But I think if you're a generalist and you know CS really well, actually it's really beneficial to work across businesses and take your skills, learn the product that you're going to work with, but use that CS mindset, that CS personality type, the CS mindset, and all of those disciplines and processes to then work in a different industry is quite a great experience, actually.
Yeah, so I'm definitely, I classify in the generalist, for sure. And I think the really interesting thing has been the places that I worked where I was working with a tricky product, or I didn't have the full faith, or I didn't have a full understanding because the product was constantly changing or being fixed or evolving, that the communications were bad. Those have been the biggest challenges, but I've also learned so much on how to manage that, from, because obviously even if you're in this place with the legs going underwater, you, the client, have to be like, I know everything and absolutely I'm going to serve and answer your queries and take your questions back and get the right answers for you. But I've learned so much. And then when I remember the switch for me was when I worked at a company where I really got the product, I really loved it, and that's when I could level up myself in my customer success skills. I remember that feeling and really noticing a change in myself and my sort of personal development. But I would say when you're a generalist as well, it's so lovely to be able to fit into, to bring it back to the team, to be able to fit into a team so well from one industry to another.
Yeah. So we should talk about that word when it comes to CSM. Our industry, our profession, quite often defines you as the trusted advisor. As you know, I dislike a lot. I have very strong feelings about it.
Tell me why. It's normally a thing that people enjoy branding themselves as, but
yeah, well, that's interesting, and I wonder whether it's a trust thing, whether they're kind of putting themselves under that umbrella so that they are perceived in that way, and someone can have confidence in them, rather than using your skill and your relationship building skills to build a proper relationship that brings value. So therefore you become the trusted person that they listen to and are led by. I think our industry is still relatively new, but I could speak for a whole other LinkedIn Live about this, and you'll probably hear me talking about this at some point, but for another day. We don't really know how to describe ourselves, and customer success is a term that people, what does that do? And we're not very good at going, well, we manage a lot, we manage the growth, we manage revenue of for some people millions, and we're not categorized like sales or marketing, where they've built a reputation. We know exactly what sales and marketing is. CS is still really unknown for many leaders. Executives are still challenging, well, what value do they bring? And the trusted advisor word is just, it's, for me, it's not enough.
Do you think it's doing a disservice to what we're actually doing then?
Yeah.
Too all encompassing, like it doesn't actually say anything, but it's something that people do brand themselves as.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are many other words that we could use. And my second customer success role, I was labelled a specialist. I was just a product specialist, and that it defines better, I think, than a trusted advisor, or even the word CSM. But yeah, that's my strong views, and we're going to talk more about the the great things about what CS is and what our team look like, and because let's bring it to life a bit, because your day to day can be so varied, right? You are one side, you're dealing with a customer that's giving a case study. The other side of it, someone's talking about growing their business into another part of the business, and revenue wise that could be a lot for the business you're working for, and managing a lots of admin like the agenda and meetings and sending over documents. You've got to be so on it, and not miss a beat.
No, and delivering on promises. I think something my key word for the month has been accountability, because I think there are so many pieces in loads of businesses, but also in everybody's day to day, where how many times a day as a customer success manager you say, oh yeah, I'll get that over to you, or oh yeah, I'll go away and do that. But actually, if it's not written down as a next step, if it's not monitored somewhere, it's going to fall through the cracks, because we're all human beings and we forget stuff.
And you create your relationship with that customer.
Completely. The knock-on effect of that is, even if your customer goes, oh, don't worry, it's a thing, it will hit in the back of their heads. And when renewal time comes around, it's like, yeah, the level of service we got wasn't quite right. And I completely agree. Like, organization and accountability is so important in our role, and so important in delivering to the customer and maintaining that revenue. And that's something we haven't really spoken about, the fact that actually customer success is responsible for, in some businesses, 50% of the revenue. Like, it's
or
huge.
More.
Yeah, exactly. So we're commercial people, as well as having to be the sort of the personable people and the nice guys
and the doers.
Yeah, exactly. We're spinning all them plates.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So when you go on a call with a customer, like, what's your main goal? Like, what's your unique way of winning a customer over? Tell us your tricks.
Yeah. Well, my thing is, I want that call that they have that day to be the best call that they have. We've all heard the phrase death by meeting, and I just don't want to be another one on that list. And the way I do it is I'm going to make it threefold. People like things in threes. So one, I make sure that what I'm bringing to them is adding value to, I'm moving, as you say, the phrase, moving the needle. So I'm moving the needle with them. So that might be just developing that relationship. That could be, making another connection. It could be presenting them with a bit of information that I've actually researched ahead of time that is really relevant to them, that I've seen in the industry. Some maybe even irrelevant to our product, but helps, again, build that relationship. I want to make sure that so the value piece, really, really key. Giving them an agenda ahead of time so they can add their pieces. I can come prepared. There's no time wasted in terms of like having to find something or going away to get the answer. The answer's there. They wanted the answer at that meeting. So that's another really key piece. And then the third thing is, like, actually, it doesn't have to be all talk about work. That's where the personalities can come through, and you can talk about dogs for 15 minutes, just so long as that customer can walk away and say, I really enjoyed that call, I learned something, and I know a bit more about OpenBlend. So not sure how concise I was there, but hopefully the general sentiment came across.
It did. I think you've got a good balance to the value piece, the personality piece, the organization piece.
Yeah, That's it. See, I've got you to make me concise. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, are we moving on to?
Yeah, let's talk about the team.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we talked about the CSM. Obviously, the team of CSMs is another thing altogether.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
and how they work together.
Yeah, because we, bringing different individuals together, it's as a hiring manager, it's really tricky to know what personality is going to be the right fit. But knowing, when you look at a team, you've got lots of different individual needs, strengths, understanding the team from a strength position, knowing what you what you need to hire in from a strength position.
Yep.
And energy as well. We've got a really energetic team. We've got a bunch of people who really are positive, really want the best out of for the business, really want the team to succeed as well as the customers.
Yeah, definitely.
We are, as a team at OpenBlend, we are definitely focused on finding solutions. We are very creative, I'd say, at finding solutions. We kind of share, a lot of ideas and constantly looking for new ways and better ways of doing things.
Yeah,
but
and learning from each other from each
other. Yeah. I mean, from your perspective, you're relatively new to our team. Is that how you view our team?
Definitely. I think I really enjoy getting to see the different strengths in everybody, and then how they bring them together, and the fact that there's the culture, I think, actually, that you've built, and the team have contributed to it within the team of exactly all of those elements that have come together, and the fact that everybody's so willing to kind of be like, oh, do you know what, I'm not feeling very confident on this, do you mind joining me on a call? It's really helpful, really cohesive environment, and one where if it's quite clear if someone's struggling with something, they're really able to ask for help with zero judgment, which is just lovely. I think the environment, no one would not like to work in that environment, I would say.
Well, partly because I do encourage, and being very open. That person is very good at this, so if you need something, go to that person for this. If you need this, go to that person, and being very clear about that. But equally, we've done something as a team when we've agreed, the way we all want to receive feedback.
Yes.
But even openly having that discussion and saying, this is, and I've now written it down, this is the way, if you want to give me feedback, good or bad, this is the way I like to receive it.
Yeah. That was great. That was my second week at the business, and it was an idea that came about, and now everyone can view that document. So if ever you forget how someone would like to, you can go back and view it. I love that.
Yeah,
I love that. And that's on a one-to-one, even if you didn't feel comfortable, bring it up in a team meeting or something.
Yeah.
Really, really good.
I mean, I guess we all agree to that way of working. So I do, as a leader, try and get buy-in.
Yes. Yeah.
For everyone wanting to work in the same way, because it benefits everyone. And we do lean on each other's strengths as a result. So that person then enjoys what they're doing because they're using their strengths.
Yeah.
And they're contributing to the team.
It's a fab feeling, isn't it, when someone comes to you and says, like, I'm not so sure about this, and like, can you come on this call with me, or can we take 15 minutes to talk about it? Because I've seen that you've done that really well. Like, no one, I think, would be dissuaded by that.
Yeah.
Is that even a word? Dissuaded? Why not? You know what I mean?
Why not?
I think the other thing is that we're always within the culture of the team encouraged to upskill ourselves, right? To take the time, if you need to, like, take a couple of hours a month to be like, oh, I want to watch this webinar, or I want to do this, to constantly improve, and actually then bring it back to the team and share the learnings. I think that's such a wonderful thing to enable your team to be able to do.
Definitely. I think our team particularly as well are, and I've seen this in other teams, but it sets a tone that really happy to be challenged and not shy away from sharing different opinions, and then to come to an opinion that we all agree on or we disagree on, either way, but We're just saying, this is the best thing how we need to move forward. Maybe someone doesn't agree, and that's fine. We accept that there may not be a total agreement, but we're up for having that kind of upfront, direct perspective. Challenge is a good thing because it makes us better, creates new ideas.
Definitely. And and not taking that as like okay, I'm wrong. It's not that. It's actually they're just different perspectives on the same issue, right? So,
it's not a personal hit. It's let's present an idea and a perspective, and let's look at the other sides of it.
Yeah, definitely. Now, Shelley, similar to the trusted advisor piece, you have thoughts on customer success as a whole.
Well, the name generally, I mean, it kind of goes back to that trusted advisor piece, that customer success, it just doesn't really say well what we do. And like you mentioned before, that whole growth engine, that revenue piece, I don't think it says enough about the responsibility that we have as part of our day-to-day. And when we, as a SaaS business, when we lose a customer, it hurts. And customer success actually is only really referring to the outcomes, the successful outcomes as a customer. It doesn't translate at all into revenue. Although, not every CS team is responsible for revenue generation, but they are responsible for retaining revenue. And I think we need to rebrand as a profession. Everyone, like I said, everyone knows what marketing is. Everyone knows what sales is, what they do. And I don't know. I think we've hit a time in the development of the profession that we need to kind of rebrand and look at refreshing how we present ourselves, because it needs to be clearer for executives. It needs to be better understood about the importance of having these trusted advisors to look after the customers. I mean, we're babysitters. We are looking after your very important customers, and if they churn, you lose revenue. It's subscription. And it's more than that. It's so much more. I could go on and on about it. I think it's really difficult to describe. I think it's really difficult for a lot of people to understand. Those who are in it get it, and we don't really care. It's not relevant to us. We like the word success because we like success. That's how we feel. But it's so much more. We'll see how things evolve over the next few years.
And I think we should maybe even do another session on that, on what should it be called, what is the future of customer success. Maybe there is a better name for it. We can start a trend.
I have seen a few kind of suggestions made, but nothing that I'm really that aligned to just yet. So maybe that's for another day. Well,
we're going to move on then to the leadership. Obviously, such a key piece to any successful team, and start with sort of hiring and progression as a topic.
Well, I mean, the market's been going mental for CSMs over the last few years. Lack of great people, shortage. So lots of people with less experience have been promoted. But with any team, you'll have people who are really strong performers. They're high achievers, pushing for development, learning, opportunities for growth. And then you have those who chug along, they do the job, they tick the boxes. And then on the other side, you've got those that are underperforming and they're not suitable to the role, or for various different reasons, they're just underperforming. So I guess one of the things I want to talk about is the competency framework I've got. So it works for both those who are high performers and those that are underperforming, because having a competency framework, I have found, makes it very, very clear when you're speaking to a CSM. So the competency framework lays out the standards and the different skills, attributes that are required at different levels. And the pay matches, obviously, those different levels. And if someone is a high achiever, you can speak to, right, for the next quarter, I want you to learn or train or develop on these different areas, because this is where you're going to, the next step up. So these are the attributes that we're looking, the standards that we're looking for at that level. So let's find a project that works, that will help develop you towards that. But then on the other side of things, having poor performers, you can say, this is the standard that's expected, and it's very, very clear. And these are the areas that I'd like you to develop on, rather than, you're not doing so well. And it's just, it gives
I can't really put my finger on why.
Yeah, it gives a really clear way to break down the requirements needed, and have those discussions as well. As a leader, you can have to have some really awkward conversations. And if you put it into the framework and you talk about it in terms of competencies, it's not about opinions, it's about suggestions and examples of how someone's not meeting those competencies. It gives clarity in role. It just helps support really open discussions, and recognizing where the team's at, where they need to be pushed. Different people have different challenges, and we're all very individual. And being able to reward at the right time. So when it comes to promotions, it's very easy, it's very clear cut. If someone has met the competency and they have presented all of the examples and they've done the work, it's all documented, really super easy to promote someone. And even if you're having to fight for a promotion or that extra pay for someone, when you're speaking to an HR person or speaking to finance, you have everything documented to say, no, this person deserves that. This is the last 4 quarters that we've been working on these competencies. They've proven this via X, Y, and Z. No one can argue with that.
No, I mean, you're also just describing our product, which is quite a nice transition, really, isn't it?
I mean, I've had the competency framework for some time, so it's made it easy. And if you don't have OpenBlend, I think managers who have OpenBlend are in so much more a better place to manage people, because our product is all about coaching the best out of individuals. So when you joined, we had the opportunity to really get deep into the drivers, the motivational drivers that you have, that are very different to other team members, right? So we're having that very frank conversation, you telling me, do you know what, these are things that are really important to me. You will get the best out of me if these are met. They're enablers. They are telling me how I can manage you to your best. And equally, we've got the opportunity to put in objectives, which is the business piece. Okay, Clarice, these things might be really super important to you, but this is what the business expects. And by the way, we have to meet the two. And we can have those really open discussions with them both on the table. Your well-being, your deadlines, your actions, all of that. We can have a very individual, inclusive conversation using OpenBlend. Not everyone has OpenBlend. We can have those open discussions, but it does break down the barrier. And now I've used OpenBlend at OpenBlend. I love it as a lead and a coach. I do think I get the best out of the team, because I know you all, to quite an I know your drivers, I know what motivates you, and I've got that reference point to always treat you like an individual. With the layer of what's expected.
I really like as well. It may be a nice sort of point to wrap up on as well, because even though from a leader perspective you're able to track and measure up, and when it comes to that progression conversation or performance conversation, it's not just from you, it's from the individual too. Can be like, look at all the things I've done, and I've met all of the targets. So it's
documented. It's all there. So that promotional piece, the competency framework, is just another layer with it documented in somewhere that, for underperformance or overperformance, it's all documented. I mean, if I manage someone that's underperforming with the ability to capture all of the notes, etc., rather than it being an email, it'd be a lot easier. to go through a grievance process. But yeah, I mean, those managers who have OpenBlend are just very fortunate.
Yeah. That's it. Not that we're biased in any way.
Well, the users as well. I mean, we've heard some really amazing stories, and that's one of the great things about working where we do, is that we get to hear the end user stories. We know that there are people out there that have had their lives changed because of our product. That's pretty cool. We'll finish on that, shall we?
Yeah, I think so.
That's the end of our series, folks, and we'll be back. We're going to be doing some more, but for now, that's a wrap.
Yeah.
Thanks, Clarice.
Great fun. Thanks, Shelley.
Take care.